Okay, wait a second. Like my dad, all your kids were into guns and you never shot a gun. And you never liked them. Are you a parent who have never been around firearms, you don't like firearms, and can even imagine having firearms at home? But your kid does. They are definitely interested in guns and pistols, rifles, shotguns, and want you to take them to the range. Well, this video is for you. And before you wonder why listening to me, the firearms instructor, competitive shooter, and most likely is gonna tell you, go and take your kid to the range. Well, let me tell you a personal story. I would say my mom's story that is very similar to yours, and I hope it gives you a different perspective and helps you make the right decision for your family. My dad took my sisters and I to the gun range for the first time. I was 11 years old. During that time, I had already done a lot of different activities like swimming, gymnastics, ballet. I liked painting, arts, all that stuff, but nothing got me hooked like firearms did. My mom particularly was the one who took us most of the time to the range, and she waited for us. She would have books and she would be reading and all that stuff. You would think that my mom and my dad were very much into firearms, especially, not only having their kids shooting guns, but also into shooting sports. On one side, my dad, he became part of the shooting team also, and he would travel with us, which I think was wonderful. My mom, on the other hand, she would talk to us about shooting and the technique and all that stuff, but she was never much involved. I thought, well, my mom was not much into it, I guess, but I assumed my whole life until last year, I assumed that she had shot firearms with my dad. Maybe I just never saw her. Maybe I just never noticed it, or didn't remember, but I totally, sincerely assumed that my mom had fired guns. 30 years after the first day at the range, I asked my mom, hey mom, you've shot a gun, right? And she looked at me and said, nope, I did not. I didn't like them. I didn't want to have anything to do with it, but I supported you guys. And I was like, what? Okay, wait a second. Like my dad, all your kids were into guns and you never shot a gun and you never liked them. And she's like, I never liked them. I didn't want to have anything to do with them. But she said to me that she supported my dad having a gun for self-defense. And on top of that her children, they have potential to do so great and so good in the sport, and she was able to put all her feelings and thoughts aside to support us. I was like, thank you. There's wisdom in having that open-mindedness and understanding what is happening around the world and not thinking that just the world happens just around you. Like she still until this day has not had a firearm, has not shot a firearm, and she's okay with it. Going back to the question, you don't like guns, maybe you don't hate them, or maybe you do, I don't know, but you just don't care for them. You don't want to have them. But then you have your kid who does. So you have two general paths. You can choose one in which you say, I'm just gonna ignore it, I'm gonna just close my eyes, my ears, and hopefully they'll forget, or you can help them learn. So on the first choice, right, as a parent, because I'm a parent, that more often than not, when you say no, they would say yes. When you say don't do this, they will try to do it. And the problem with that is not just a regular thing, it's just firearms. And they may find that information somewhere else, or from somebody who's not qualified, perhaps from another kid who doesn't even know those things either, who has never been taught about firearm safety. On the other side, we have that you say, okay, I don't like guns, I don't know much about firearms, but my kids wants to know about firearms, so I'm gonna go to a gun range and ask for a firearms instructor, or talk to friends to ask for recommendations of firearms instructors. And to be honest, you may find through this journey that your kid has the potentials to become a competitive shooter, like I am and many others, or become an Olympic champion, travel the world competing in shooting sports. That's phenomenal. Giving your kids the tools and for them to explore and try new things and possibly being the best and the greatest, something that you never imagined. Like my mother, I don't think she ever imagined that all her children were going to be into the shooting sports. But on the other hand, it could be that you take your kids and do your due diligence and take your kid to the gun range, teach them properly, and they learn what it is, what is not, how it's to be used, how it shouldn't be used. And they say, okay, I got it, thank you. And then they may not be interested anymore. The most important thing is that you do not impose your fears and your concerns. Instead, give them all the information, the pretty, the ugly, the good and the bad. I have a son, a 7-year-old, who has been around firearms pretty much his whole life. I am a competitive shooter. My husband also competes. He goes hunting. And my son has also gone hunting with my husband. So we have educated him about firearms, what they are, what they're not, how to use them safely and carefully and responsibly. So from one parent to another, regardless of the situation, always choose education.